big joke. It's a fucked up world. Here we are in. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Reborn episode 86. I actually remembered everything, including to unmute the mic so I won't have to go through the horror of recording for a half an hour or so and not being able to hear myself talk on the replay, so I have to do it all over again. I did something right. I'm here with a co-host, Cardiac Sumo. How are you, sir?
Doing super duper. Catching up on comics. Everybody read Batman. Just throwing it out there.
Oh yeah, didn't the new Batman come out?
Yesterday.
And how was it?
I love this story so much.
Jesus Christ.
Obsessed with it.
So I see. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into everything. First, we're going to do the catch-up thing first. So let's do the debate first. Because I didn't watch the debate. We forgot on the night that we were recording that there was a damn debate. And, I decided I was going to watch it. But Mr. Sumo decided to watch for us. So I leave the floor to you, sir, to give the overview. And I'll ask questions as you go over your thoughts for the third Democratic presidential candidate debate.
Sure. So, I think first things first, I love that there was only 10 people in this one in one night. The first two had, 20, 10 on each night, two night events. Just having 10 of them on stage, not worrying about what's going to happen the second night and who was facing who, it just made it so much simpler to follow. So I think that was just a huge improvement, is cutting off that 20. That night we had Biden, Warren, Booker, Sanders, Harris, Buttigieg, Castro, Klobuchar, O'Rourke, and Yang.
No Marianne Williams.
No,
Much to the crowd's chagrin.
there was no marijuana smoke on stage that day. It was a little bit more clear. So I don't know if you got any coverage of it after the fact. But
I've heard bits and pieces, heard some people give their overview of it. I heard about the Julian Castro going off on Biden, basically looking like, someone who likes to assault octogenarians, apparently.
I mean, yeah, since you bring that up, that was one. There were many things to glean from that night, but Castro went and Biden a few times. And it came off feeling far more childish and petulant than I think he probably wanted it to. At one point he said something like, "You're not upholding Obama's legacy, I am." And it was just like a really gross thing to say.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Hearing that, it's like, well, my response would be, well, how are you doing that?
I can't remember if they were talking about healthcare at the time, which they spent a lot of time on, or if it was in reference to something else. But it was just one of a few times he went after him. Because one of the things, the clips I'm sure a lot of people are seeing is when Castro said something like, "You just, said something different like a few seconds ago. Did you forget what you said?" Like trying to make him look like he's old and forgetful. And I remember seeing him do that. And it really irritated me because he was wrong. Biden said something different than what he was claiming. And sure enough, if you go back and you look at the fact checkers right after the debates are over, they agree Castro was wrong when he was going after Biden. That's not what Biden said. So Castro was either lying or he fucked up, and then he didn't give Biden a chance to respond. But to try to make the guy look like old and incompetent, which he does screw up sometimes, definitely, but to go at him like that when he wasn't even incorrect in the first place.
Yeah, I think we all have an issue as far as Biden's age is concerned. We all think that he is probably not in his best days these days. I think everybody has made that comment. I feel like from here, what you're saying to me, it's kind of obvious that he's trying to play up look at this old guy, old guys get I appreciate the Swalwell comment about passing the torch, because that makes more sense. It's like, yo, you guys keep saying that you want the new generation to lead forward. That you guys keep coming back to try to run shit. That's a fair assessment. Um, I think the way that Kamala went at him over a particular issue was definitely a fair assessment. That was fair game. The way Cory Booker went at him with the whole like, I'm surprised you wanted to talk about people's records, like comment. That's fair game. To keep harping on his age in that way, yeah, no. Like, we could say that about Warren, we could say that about Sanders if we want, but it's like, it's beyond the point. The point is, if you are trying to make a case that his age is going to have a problem with his competency, you probably shouldn't just come out and blatantly make it appear that you just think that he's too old to run the country, and therefore that's your crux. He should have tried to frame it in a way that would have made it look like you guys should have serious concerns about this guy because he doesn't seem to be as coherent as we would like him to be, or that we need a president to be, type of thing. It just seemed like he was just like, oh man, like, look at you, it's past your bedtime, type shit.
I think it was the aggressiveness that really turned me off. Because when Biden tried to respond, he just kept harping on this. Like, did you forget what you said? Over and over again, to the point where Biden couldn't respond. And again, the reason it pissed me off is because I knew Castro was wrong, because I remembered at the time what Biden had said. So he's just slamming him over and over for something he didn't really say in the first place. And that kind of thing sticks in the minds of people who are watching this, because I saw somebody else do some kind of coverage, and they seem to believe Castro. Like, they remembered it the same way he remembered it, which, to be fair, I thought I can't remember the exact wording, but the way Biden worded it was a little weird to me. But again, the fact checkers proved them wrong. But that kind of thing can mislead people into believing them, because I've definitely seen other cases where one candidate said something misleading about another, and because there isn't like on the spot fact checking, it just kind of sticks around in people's minds.
Yeah. Now, I don't think Castro did himself any favors of that night. He might have tanked his campaign seriously.
No, I just actually happened upon the quote, "I am fulfilling the legacy of Barack Obama, and you are."
Okay, so how was he fulfilling it? What did he say was the basis for his fulfillment?
And yeah, they were referring to the healthcare plans, because a lot of the debate, at least the parts that I remember, were going back and forth between different versions of their healthcare plans. And you guys will have to forgive me. I just happened to be scrolling off the page and didn't even notice that I was scrolling through coverage of this. But what I see here is Barack Obama's vision was not to leave 10 million people uncovered. He wanted every single person in this country covered. My plan would do that. Your plan would not. And as I read that quote, I remember what the crux of their disagreement was. Castro was... So overall in the healthcare debate, there was pretty much the debate between essentially forcing everybody off of private plans onto the public government, plan, versus just having a government plan and letting private sit aside and just making your own choice. And Castro was suggesting that Biden's plan would not automatically enroll people who lost their health care. Like, if they lost their jobs and therefore lost their employer-given health care plan, they wouldn't just automatically enroll them, which was not true as far as I could tell. But that was the crux of his attack, was that your plan wouldn't automatically enroll them, so fuck you, I guess.
Yeah, no, it just... From what I was hearing and reading, he just seemed like he came off bigger... He came off more as a dick than as, anything else. So. That sucks for him.
Yeah.
How did Beto do?
I don't remember much that he said, to be honest.
I don't even remember that, damn right, we're going to take the guns or whatever, or fuck yes. So, did he say fuck, or did he say damn?
Might have been damn. Actually, yeah. I guess it was in this debate. Probably was it?
Yeah, it was because they asked a question about. I remember them making a big point about how, like, when asked about whether or not he'd take assault rifles from people, and he was just like, "Hell yeah," or whatever. Like he just went Stone Cold Steve Austin on him, I guess.
Sure. Um, yeah. It feels like the kind of thing that shoots yourself in the foot. Like, I don't know how I feel about his statement. Like, yeah, this stuff is a problem. There's no reason for a lot of people to have. But it just feels like the kind of thing, and other people have made this point, that just isn't going to show up in an NRA video tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, when they say, we're coming to take your guns, like, here he is saying he's definitely going to take them. Maybe people agree with him taking them. It's a weird area for me. Well, yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird thing because I do agree that people don't need that kind of thing. But I can tell just the American attitude toward that it's just going to buck hard against it. Even people who don't like guns felt kind of uncomfortable with the stance he was taking.
Hmm. Yeah, it's funny because he's just been all the rave for his cursing and ranting these days. Like, I guess that's his stick now. It's just to be the angry politician.
Sure. Uh, I guess it's really the only way he's going to get noticed at this point. Let's be real. So you may as well keep leaning into it.
It's funny.
But you know, that aside for a second, I wanted to talk about Mr. Yang. I feel like he answered some questions, pretty well. I feel like he had a decent night, but there was something that was really irritating me, especially early on. I think it was during when they were, doing their little introduction moments, and Yang announced that he was going to give a freedom dividend to like 10 Americans or something, kind of, trying to prove it out. And people laughed at this, and that just bugged me. And when I say people, I mean Harris laughed quite a bit, and so did Buttigieg. Buttigieg didn't laugh like out loud, but he had some smart ass remark like, that's certainly unique. And I've said this multiple times. I feel like Yang's ideas are interesting, but I don't feel like they lend themselves well to a debate stage because they feel like the kind of ideas that you really have to make a long form case for and hear him talk for like an hour or so at length for him to justify why he wants to do these sort of things. When I see the other politicians on stage laughing at these ideas, I get it, they're trying to win the debates or whatever, but he is addressing a very serious fucking problem with the way automation is primed to take a lot of jobs in the future.
Okay, so I'm going to irritate you more because I'm going to say they were very right to laugh at him for doing that. This is the reason why. You're running a campaign. Now, I get that you're saying that this is just me like showing how this can work, but that's pretty much bordering the line of bribing people for your support.
I've heard people make this argument about the legal issue around this,
and that's where that's probably why Harris laughed because she was like, "Yo, are you really going to open up this can of worms for yourself?" Because it very much could borderline on that. Like, I get it, he's doing it out of his own money, but that's a powerful tool to know that this guy is willing to put that money, where his mouth is, literally, and give it away. Because if this works and he gets an uptick because of this, what's to say that he doesn't, like, I'll do it again at the next debate, because I really believe in this. It's like, okay, and your numbers keep going up. It's going to become like, that gray area. It's like, well, is his numbers coming up because people actually believe in him? Or is it because of the fact that he is offering money in that way? And that's where I think, I don't think that it was necessarily a laugh at, like, that's just a stupid idea as far as the idea in itself. I just think that they think that it's like a stupid idea in the, like, you don't want to get yourself in trouble at this point, especially since he has picked up a little bit, incrementally. That's a horrible way to derail yourself.
I'm not willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that that's why they're laughing. I think they are laughing at this idea, as a lot of Americans tend to do, with no familiarity toward it.
No, I don't think that people
But
would. I honestly think because let's be honest. Speaking in the simplest terms, you tell people you'll give them money, they're all on board. Let's not like act like we're all like people who pay attention to the dynamics of politics. Most people, break it down to you how somebody at this job I used to have broke it down to me because that's how he sees it, and that's how I think a lot of people see it. Most people, when it comes to the political state, they don't really care that much about the background stuff of like whether or not this guy's reputation, like how everybody talks about Trump, whether or not foreign policy is taken care of. All people is cared about is whether or not they'll have money in their pocket and they're able to go out and pay bills and buy things. As long as you ensure that for them, most people don't really give a damn about what you do. And him putting that on the table is part of his draw because that's mainly what most people want. They just want to know that they can get money and pay for their bills and go on about their lives. All the other stuff, all the stuff that we like, a lot of people, I would say, not we, but a lot of people fake scream and yell and rant about. End of the day, as long as people are able to like survive financially, they don't really care who's the person doing it.
all right, so I guess I'll get away from Buttigieg's and Kamala's reactions because I do still think they weren't in good faith. But hopping onto this issue about it being sort of like bribery, I think that is an interesting case because when I first heard it, I was like, all right, yeah, I heard people making jokes about that kind of thing and some people questioning the legality of it. I hesitate to equate it to that sort of thing because you talk about having the financial strength being enticing to voters. I mean, sure, that's part of why some people talk about lowering taxes on people. That doesn't feel that extremely different. And saying that him giving out money is like bribing people, he's giving out 10 to the millions of people that live in this country. Like, there's no
Yeah, but
big
the
reason
thing
why
is,
him
in
having
order
to
for this
do
to
it.
happen, you have to sign on to his thing. And you're signing on when you sign on to his site. That means that you're basically signing the petition for him to move along in the campaign process. It's not just a I'm signing up for a contest thing. And that's where it gets iffy because it's like if he's just doing an individual contest, independent, if he would have done it, it would have looked a lot better if he would have done an independent site, independent of his campaign site. At that, it said that he's doing this. Like it starts to like the fact that he's tied it into his whole campaign, you know, media. That makes it start to look really, really weird. And I
But
think that
I
it.
agree
I
still.
think it's just like it's optics, sure, but I think that's why it's getting the flack that it's getting. I honestly don't think it would get as much flack if it were an independent thing.
I
Because
understand.
we've seen billionaires give away money before. There's this guy on Twitter now who keeps giving away billions and billions of dollars. So,
From his drug deals. Uh,
no. He's not a drug dealer. He actually inherited his money. And quite interesting. You should look up Bill Pulte.
I see you retweet him all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, sure, I agree. It looks weird. I When he announced it, I didn't think it was ideal. It's kind of a weird thing because it feels like the point he's trying to make is that he believes in this and put his own money out there.
Yeah. And
I didn't feel like he needed to do that because he's already. I think at least with like two families, he's already done this out of pocket before. So it certainly didn't feel necessary at this point. Uh, I wouldn't have done it.
yeah, I wouldn't have
I do
either.
I do think a lot of people are being a bit unfair when they push this analogy of bribery a bit much. Like as an example, when people point at Bernie and they talk about Venezuelan socialism, I don't think that's fair.
No,
As much
that's
as I
not.
don't agree with Bernie, I don't think that that's the kind of thing he's pushing for at all. And push the slippery slope argument aside. Again, I don't. I he's not the motherfucker I want to vote for. But let's be honest with what he's attempting. But yeah, Yang Gang out there still full force. He's still in the top 10. I have said I'm surprised he's managed to stick around at that level a little bit, but
yeah,
he's tapping into something.
And it's funny because you brought up Bernie, and that was part of like my reasoning behind the whole. I think that's why people are upset thing because, to be fair, Bernie makes a lot of grand promises too. A lot of promises that are very attractive when it comes to people's financial state. Like when the $15 an hour thing became the big thing last campaign, you saw how many people latched onto that because it's the idea of getting more money in their pockets. Of course, no one will call that bribery because it's a policy change. This, again, like I said, this is like him directly pulling money out of his pocket and be like, here you go. For a whole year, I'm going to give you this. And I just think that if he were just to be doing this as an independent guy, like, it would be different. But running for president, it just opens up a can of worms that I don't think he should want. Because even then, when I just said that, it was like, now people can use that as an attack point because it's like, it's very funny for someone who's as passionate about this idea. I've never seen you once do something like this before you ran for president.
Yeah. They could use it as an attack point against Yang? Or?
Yeah, because, how, charitable are you on this, or how passionate you are this if this was never anything as a part of your charitable agenda as a businessman? Why is this all of a sudden now a big deal for you, and you're going to actually pay out on it as well while you're running? It's like it. I mean, and again, for me, it's like, okay, whatever, he wants to do that, sure. I mean, Godspeed. Shit, I should go sign up. Fuck, I wouldn't mind somebody giving me $1,000 a month just for nothing, sure. But I think that's another place where it kind of looks like bad. Not as far as the campaign thing, but it's like, people are going to just take advantage of this thing. Like,
I can see people making that argument, but I still see odd because what I see this as, and not just these 10 he said he was going to do, but the couple he was doing before, almost a bit of an experiment to kind of prove out his point. Like, it's not. I
mean, it is going to be it works that way, regardless if that's his intent or not. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but I mean the people. Yeah, you're right. But I mean the people who would attack him on that, for them to equate it with like a charity thing seems incorrect because he seems to be casting this more of like a scientific kind of proof of concept.
Yeah, well, but if again,
why didn't you do this before? Like, why would he do it before? There was nothing to prove.
Well, yeah, he does have something to prove, though. Because, again, if this is something that you think that should have been done, why wouldn't you have done that? It's kind of like the guy I was mentioning on Twitter. Like, he keeps saying that he just wants to prove that people are going to, like, come together and do it. He has I mean, maybe this is a plot to do some public office stuff or not. But at current time, it just seems like he just came up with the idea that he thought was cool. And he thought that he felt like this would be something that would help change society. And he's doing it. At any point in his life, if this was how Yang felt, you can make the argument that he could have done this. And again, I don't think that this is like something like that is just calculated for the campaign or anything. But I'm just saying this is how it can be broken down. Given the right people. Like, I could see an Elizabeth Warren who, like, got millions of people working on all these ideas, using that if they ever went head to head, is fucking with them. Like, I could see somebody much more aggressive than he is. And that's another thing that hurts. Is like, he's not as aggressive as most of his competition. I can see somebody really aggressive hitting that point really, really fucking hard. And that's a fear for him. That should be a worry for him.
Sure.
Because, I mean, again, that's probably part of the reason why Kamala laughed. Because she was like, yo, is he just tossing up softballs to me to knock out the park? Because she's a lawyer. She'll do that shit. She will do that shit.
If I wasn't her, I wouldn't be so bold because she's not doing that well.
I mean, at the end of the day, to pick on him, I hate to say this about your boy, sorry, but to pick on him, it would be the equivalent of just like pushing somebody over who's in a wheelchair at this point, politically speaking.
I mean, yeah, I've said one of his weaknesses is sort of the debate format. Because I think when he does really well, he's not really talking to somebody directly. He just, and you could argue on some ways it's positive, but he's sharing just ideas in general with the American people. He's not really going after other people like that.
Because he does fine.
Like that about him, but you could argue it's not an opportunity for him to show how he would be in interpersonal interactions.
Well, it's not just that he doesn't go after people. I don't care that he doesn't go after people. I just feel like he doesn't speak up enough. He doesn't like push to get himself heard in this like sea of people. He kind of demurs until he's directly asked something, and while everybody else like they'll go out of their way to make sure they get their point across. And I think that's my biggest problem. But if you go by what he says, he does well, very very well. It's just that you don't necessarily feel. I guess most people don't feel like it's that impactful because he's barely speaking. But when he speaks, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it tends to work out. But he has made the argument on this stage before that, this is what the American people don't like, this talking head arguing bullshit. So it's a double-edged sword, because I do think he's being consistent, at least, by not doing that, because he does feel like it's a bit of theater, which, to be fair, it is. I think that's as aggressive as Castro looked, he just made him childish at the end of the day. And I've seen that with several of them that make them a bit more unlikable. So I think it kind of depends on what some of the voters are attracted to, because some people will like the fact that he doesn't engage in this kind of behavior, but for other people, they're just going to need to hear him talk more, and he's not doing that enough for them. So
yeah,
we'll see how it works out for him in the long run. But congrats on still being in the top 10. I can't say I necessarily saw that.
You mean top 11?
Sorry?
You mean top 11?
Were there 11 on the stage?
There will be. We'll get to that.
I alluded to it before, but Castro attacking Biden on being old. In fairness, he feels old because there was one moment that
I actually heard this clip. Oh my god.
I think they were talking about education or something, and he was talking.
They were talking about African Americans and like the effect. They were talking about reparations and what did the American need to actually do to help like break some of the different like things that have plagued minorities in this country, basically, in particular black people. And that's when he went on his riff. Go ahead.
I don't have the quote up in front of me or anything, but he was essentially saying stuff like, he was referring to the number of words and things black is here in the home that would affect their.
I believe it was 4 million or 4 billion less words, something like that.
It's rough. He was essentially saying stuff like, turn on the radio, the record player. It's like all these weird old phrases for technology.
Yeah, it was. He was basically telling black people what they need to do to like cut the advantage that white people have in those areas, and those were basically his points. Like, read them books and turn on the radio. Like, yeah, why don't you listen to some like, quote unquote white music, and then you'll hear other words, right? No.
It was one of those, because I've often defended him, saying like we shouldn't just keep shitting on him for his age, because you can be old and still have good ideas, and you can be young and have stupid ones, as a lot of younger people do.
Yeah.
But it was like one of those moments that freaked me out a little bit. Like, all right, hold on, we need an evaluation.
Well, when I heard that shit, and I'm not quoting directly, but at the same time, that's what it came off at. It just was like, yo, Joe, what are you fucking doing, son?
Yeah, he does this too much to the point where it's becoming increasingly alarming. Like, I don't know. I need something to feel a little bit more comfortable here on that point. But I think overall the night was better. And I think with less people in one setting, there was a bit more clarity. There was, like I said, a lot of focus on healthcare. Uh, the major crux being people like Bernie and Sanders and Warren, essentially people going after them for wanting to get rid of the private sector in healthcare, essentially, and just having a public. I guess I shouldn't even call it an option, just having public healthcare because there wouldn't be another option.
Right.
I don't know how much you've read on that kind of thing. So I remember that the first couple, they just made this entire issue very confusing for me. Here they talk about it a bit more clearly, but I just remember coming out the first two, like, I don't understand where anybody is on healthcare. I thought the Democrats kind of had the healthcare thing in the bag compared to the Republicans, peel and not replace. And now I'm looking at them like I don't even know if you guys know what you want to do. But you had Buttigieg talking about healthcare for those who want it, or whatever he called. Kamala Harris's plan is about the same. Biden sounds similar-ish. So does Castro's. It's the eternal challenge of trying to stand out when your ideas are so similar to other people's. Guys, I just saw somebody earlier saying like, so what's really the difference between Buttigieg's and Kamala's plans, outside of like some minor application shit? I don't know, but that's the point, right? They're all the Democrats. They mostly fucking agree.
Yeah.
The only major thing you can seem to touch them on is like Warren and Sanders not wanting the private sector essentially to be there. And I think Buttigieg makes this point very well, where he's like, look, if we have a public option and it really is better, then the American people will just use it. They won't give a shit. So
Yeah, but there are going to be people who want to go somewhere because they think that might be better.
And he's like, just let them choose that. If ours is really the superior option over time, they'll just go over there. Maybe the insurance companies will try to be more competitive with the public option, or maybe they'll just fail. But there's no extreme reason to force people off the private option. And I'm not an expert on this topic, so maybe you just.
Oh no, I mean it's a very common sense answer because you would think, like, again, which would you choose? Let you choose. Do you think A is better or B is better? And if A is actually as good as you're saying it is, of course they're gonna take your shit. Like, yeah, I never understood the reason to just like if you want to get rid of these, it goes back to the whole problem with, like you were saying, like this quote unquote attack on the rich. The thing that I have a problem with Bernie in particular, it's that it's like, I get it. These people have all this influence, blah 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 blah, but just like denouncing the idea of private industries and the ability to make money through those is just ridiculous, because it is leaning towards, like you were saying the other day about that whole, how in Venezuela they have true socialism and how it could be like, you taking away my option to go with the private company and only go through the government means that the government gets to dictate exactly how I choose to do certain things, and that's not what you want. It's really not what you really want. Like, if you want to kill these companies, fine, but there are better ways to kill them. And having the private public option thing should be effective, because again, you think your public healthcare is that legit, it'll kill it naturally.
Sure. And I remember Warren making some point that was like, everybody says, some Americans love their private healthcare. What they really love is their doctors and their therapists and their physical therapists even, and so on. It felt like a moot point, because inevitably there are going to be some people who probably like not just the particular individuals in their private healthcare circle, but the actual healthcare policies, because there is differences in healthcare policies. Yeah, excuse me. There are differences in healthcare policies, and some will allow, maybe you have a special condition and you need, something very particular. I don't, unless the public option is literally perfect for every single American. I don't think it's worth getting rid of a private option.
Yeah, it's just like okay. When you were talking about that, I was thinking about one particular company, Casa Permanente. A lot of people like them because they have their own doctors, which you can see at their own facilities. You don't not necessarily have to go to a regular hospital to be treated. They have like facilities where they can do things. A lot of times they generally only use hospitals for surgery, for like ORs, but otherwise you just go to their campus and you're taken care of. And a lot of people like that because it's a different experience than the regular hospital, which, you know, hospitals these days are crazy as fuck. Yeah. So, there is truth to, yeah, I like my doctors, but it's also a part of like how it's done. If you're in a particular thing like, Kaiser, yeah, of course you're gonna like your doctors because your doctors are all within that one facility in that system. So that's the thing. Like you could say that, sure, but that's not gonna always be the simple answer because again, how is the doctors going to be paid out? Some doctors don't like dealing with things like government assistance because the government does not, you know, pay out fast enough for them to be able to make a living or survive. That's the thing. It's like, are you going to make medicine completely a government facility and make them government employees? Because that's what a lot of them don't like is that they're basically treated like, undervalued contractors by the government.
Sure.
So it's there's different things like again you make it to where everybody's satisfied, including like the doctors. You'll weed out private companies. Period. You just got to execute in your plan and make it happen that way. But don't just say fuck you. You got to do it this way or you do it no way.
I definitely understand wanting to deal with, corruption in those kind of companies, but it's not the hill to die on. It doesn't feel necessary. Somebody smarter than me can argue to me why I have the wrong
They
feeling about it,
can't.
but for now, it feels like the straightforward answer.
They can't because it goes to like I was saying the other week about how the Bernie side of things and how people always like the whole response to your answer is like they're gonna get rid of the like corporations and the corruption. They're gonna attack the system. It's like the system, the system. I keep saying attack the system, yet y'all are ready to establish a system that can end up being a lot more detrimental to you than you think. Like for all the anti-establishment, like feelings that Bernie gives off, that fucking like healthcare option is one key example of how he's very much of an establishment based agenda in some areas because he's establishing a particular way of functioning in life that you have no option but to adhere to. Come on. And isn't that what we hate? That we hate being controlled by the by the man? But again, it goes back to my point about how I was saying, like, at the end of the day, people don't really think things through. They're just thinking about the money. And that's the thing. They're just thinking about the cost of healthcare. And if it's done by the government, then I'm already paying it through my taxes. So that's one less cost. That's where people don't really pay attention. And that's why I was saying, like, that's just all. That's why, some people don't think beyond that and don't see it.
I think it also leads into who or what people think of as the man. Because I think people Actually, you know what? I'll hold it off until the later conversation because I do know you had something more on this topic to discuss. But it's closing up on there. Do you remember the last? It might have been the last two debates, but I'm pretty sure it was the last one where people kept like weirdly going after Obama.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the pendulum swung the other direction too far, and for those of you who watched the debates, for any people who may have covered it in the media, maybe they feel different. I feel like they went from shitting on Obama for no particular reason to just giving him an infinite blowjob because so many people would like start off their point with, and we owe a great debt to Obama for the work he did with healthcare, blah blah blah. And, like many people did this a lot, especially in the early part of the debate. Just stop. Like, stop bringing him up so much. Like the great brown hope is over there. Do your things. Like you don't have to attack him. You also don't have to blow him. Like just fucking stop.
Yeah.
Which leads it to the point of like Castro being like, I'm the one upholding Obama's legacy. All of you, not all of you. Biden is pretty much Team Obama because it's convenient to him.
That's just BFF. Come on.
Fair. But a lot of them were going after Obama's legacy before for whatever reason, and now they're all changing their tune. I don't know if they each went back to their teams and looked at the media reaction. Like,
they probably heard Trump's comment. That's all.
What comment was that?
The comment he was making, because this was going to like them investigating his stuff, which right now they're trying to get his taxes still and all that, and all the investigations that the House committees have been doing and all that. And he made a comment on Twitter, of course, because that's where he runs his mouth, about how like they should be looking into Obama's deals with Netflix and things like that, and his like book deals and stuff like that, instead of looking into his finances, because Obama's got some shit going on with him in that area. To which my response was, all that Netflix and book shit came after Obama left office. He's a private citizen. He can make those deals. Why would the government be investigating that?
You can't really take anything Trump says.
I know, but at the same time, once it comes out there, like people feel like, okay, it's like they'll shit on Obama as much as possible until he starts shitting on them, and then it's like, oh no, you can't do that,
Sure, maybe that's what it was. I was confused by what to me felt like quite a shift in tone toward Obama for them. But again, I don't feel like it's necessary either direction. Just shut the fuck up about this guy. He did what he did, right or wrong. You have the country as it is now. Talk about what you're going to do with it as it is right now. I guess the last thing about those debates is there were protesters at the end who came in during Biden's response to whatever the last question was.
Really?
I could not hear what they were saying, so I just looked it up. This article claims that they were saying, we are DACA recipients, our lives are at risk. I could look at other sources too to try to verify that. I do remember a day that they were saying something like, we're DACA people, our lives are blah, blah, blah. So I guess that might have been what they were saying. Yeah, it seems like multiple people are saying that they were saying that they're DACA recipients and their lives are at risk, and that's whatever their chant was. I don't know what to make of that. I don't want to be disrespectful to their plight, because I do think they're in a really bad situation with that kind of thing. But do you remember? It might have been the last election cycle actually, when a couple women hopped on stage with Bernie Sanders and just like took the mic and started talking a lot of shit. Like it felt like that, where it's like these are the people that kind of already are. These aren't exactly the enemy. Like, why are you doing this to them? Maybe I'm wrong in that comparison, but it just felt like the Democrats are the ones who, right now, really care about this immigration issue. They're gonna, between the two political parties, they're the ones that are really going to be more on your side. So why do this with them? I guess maybe they're afraid that the Democrats will abandon DACA people to make a deal of some kind. I don't know, but it seemed weird to me.
Yeah.
But Biden had quite a hard time talking when they entered the phrase. what are you gonna do?
Yeah. I noticed you didn't mention Harris or Klobuchar or Sanders and Warren. Really, I mean, I guess Sanders and Warren is probably just being Sanders and Warren.
I mean, yeah, I felt like they all pretty much did their regular routine. Klobuchar, was on the same train as Buttigieg, essentially. Like, why take away choice when it comes to healthcare? She's the moderate or whatever. She did her same old song and dance. I don't feel like Kamala Harris stood out that much, to be honest. In fact, it felt like on several occasions she laughed, and not just at Yang. Like, I don't know, there was something in the air, like laughing gas or something. Like, it felt like
She was like, "Oh, these white people." They kill me.
I just don't remember her having like a huge moment that stood out to me. She had like some line comparing Trump to like the Wizard of Oz, where he's like, where it's like a big guy and then you pull the curtain and it's like a little man or whatever, like some cute line like that. But other than that, I don't really remember her saying anything extreme. But again, a lot of them just agree on the same kind of shit. That's why. Like, I'm sure her and Buttigieg said some very similar things at the time, so it doesn't stick out to me.
Yeah.
Booker existed. He had some annoying. I don't remember if it was Buttigieg or Yang who said this, but they were trying to reinstill some civility when things were getting a bit out of control. I think it was Booker who said something like, this is the debate, this is how it goes. I'm like, bro, you're such an asshole. Like, you can have a mature debate without acting like a petulant brat, and the fact that you just accept this as part of the process makes me lose a little respect for you. But
at the end of the day, he's fine, because win, lose, or draw, he still is going home to Rosario Dawson. Jesus Christ. I'm still...
all the bodies under the floorboards. But yeah, maybe I can go back later and re-look at some of the coverage and refresh my memory, but Kamala just didn't stand out to me that night.
Okay. So, are you ready for the 11, possibly 12 in the next debate?
You're going to have to catch me up on this.
So, early numbers for the next Democratic debate, which is October 15th, to let you guys know, is showing that, of course, the original 10 from this last one, Biden, Booker, Buttigieg, Castro, Harris, Klobuchar, O'Rourke, Sanders, Warren, and Yang, they've all already long established that they're ready. They're in this because I believe it's the same exact requirements for the last one as this one, which is funny. I would have thought it would have escalated a little bit more to make it a little harder, but pretty much they already got their numbers once they got their numbers for this last debate. But newcomer Tom Steyer, the billionaire activist, has qualified, and he will be a part of it. And there's talk that your girl, Tulsi Gabbard, is closing in on qualifying. So, yeah, you'll see the only Republican on stage in a Democratic presidential debate. It's weird. Like, how'd you get... Yo, she's a Republican. Let's be honest.
Right.
She is a conservative playing as a Democrat. And the only reason she does that is because she's in Hawaii, and she knows that you can't be a straight up Republican in Hawaii because they don't usually do well there, as far as I remember. So shit. I mean, it's Obama state too. She better wear that blue.
So why are there going to be more people in the fourth round?
Because they're qualifying. Like I said, Steyer is qualified. He hit the numbers. So therefore, he makes number 11. And again, she's close to hitting the numbers. So she'll make 12 if she is. And who knows? Between now and then, maybe Bill de Blasio might hit the numbers. Maybe John Delaney might hit the numbers. Michael Bennett might hit the numbers. Tim Ryan might hit the numbers. Williamson might hit the numbers. You never know.
He didn't fucking bow out by now.
No, that's the funny thing. It's like, you look at all the people who, when it originally started, the only people who dropped out is Gillibrand, Hickenlooper, Inslee, Swalwell, and Moulton. Those are the only people who dropped out. Messham's still in. Sestak's still in. Bullock's still in. Williamson, Ryan, Gabbard, Delaney, De Blasio, Bennett. All those people, all those non-qualifiers are still in.
Fantastic. But what do we have to gain from continuing down this path? Because I mean, like I've said, a lot of them roughly agree on things. So why bother opening? Like, unless these people are gonna come with some magical solutions or something.
Yeah, because, like, besides Warren, Biden, Sanders, and then it's like a fight for the last two. Like, I guess you could say the, like, outside edge people are Buttigieg, Harris, and O'Rourke, maybe. Because Booker, I don't think he's got a prayer. Castro definitely doesn't have a prayer. Klobuchar was, Klobuchar, yeah. What's the saying from the anime? You're dead and you don't even know it. You're already dead. From Fist of the North Star. Yeah. Like, she's been tagged up already, and like she just is just waiting for herself to explode. So, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, and like, again, Yang is just an outlier too. So, and this Tom Stayer dude, like, well, who the fuck are you and why are you here? Like, didn't he just join the race like a few weeks ago? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I don't know who's looking to vote for this. I don't know what numbers he hit.
To qualify for the third debate, you need to get at least 2% in 4 different polls and have 130,000 donors. So, yeah, they hit him. So, I believe Gabbard got the 2%. I think she's just waiting on the donors.
All right, so I got pump some money into that little situation over there. But real quick, because I was just like trying to freshen my memory on that debate. It was like,
hold on, I'm just finishing this article because I didn't finish reading it. So, let's see. The tougher qualifying rules did have some impact. 5 candidates dropped out. Yeah, blah 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 blah. 2 candidates have registered at least 2% in any qualifying poll. You know who those 2 candidates are?
Laverne and Shirley.
It might as well be, because it's Tulsi Gabbard and Marianne Williamson. So they just need the rest of the donors.
Like, believing in magic doesn't disqualify you. This isn't the same woman that talked about, like, essentially sending positive vibes to the hurricane and get her out of here, bro.
Yeah, like, Tulsi Gabbard just needs to hit 2% in 2 more polls. Marianne Williamson just needs to hit 2% in 3 more polls. Yeah, they're going to get in. Marianne Williamson is going to be there. She's going to be there.
Not a serious woman. This is why politics is a joke. Stopping hurricanes with psychic energy. Bro, get her out of here. This is not the person that's going to give us the solution.
Look, when she becomes president and Hogwarts is opened, you're going to be mad that you didn't sign up so you can get your free education at Hogwarts.
You know what I keep thinking back to? First debates. Where, like, it must have been like a half hour so that passed before this woman got to say a single word. And I'd messaged you, I'm like, I know who this fucking woman is, but could she get some chance to talk? Like, what does she got to say? And then right after that, she started talking. I've regretted the fact that she started talking ever since. Oh my God. Get her out of here, bro. This is a joke.
So please, people, go to the polls, vote for her so she can get their 2% in 3 more polls.
But one moment where Biden did well, or at least gained some sympathy. Bernie was going after him about his healthcare situation. I guess he had said something to, people who go bankrupt when they have to deal with serious stuff like cancer. And then Biden just kind of clapped back in reference to his son, like, I know about cancer, and it's personal to me. I'm like, oh shit, Bernie, you stepped on a landmine, brother. Like, that was dumb. You don't talk about cancer to a guy who lost his son to cancer. Get out of here, bro. You failed. That was one little moment I'd forgotten about. You have some Bernie just like runs off with the mouth and doesn't just yelling at people. One day you're gonna yell at the wrong person the wrong way, bro. You don't think, bro.
He picks and chooses who he can really go at. He knows who he can go after.
And you know, I was reminded that Harris tried to redirect the conversation to Trump a bit more, which actually, real quick before we hop over, how do you feel about how much they talked about Trump? Do you feel like they should focus a lot on him, or they should just hash out their internal issues? Like,
I don't think during these debates that's what they need to focus on, because at the end of the day, you need to prove why we should vote for you. Get to that point, then you can go after Trump all you want. But at this point, I think it's pretty fair to say that any of us who have any investment in any of these people have no investment in Trump whatsoever. So they don't need to work to establish, like, you know, an anti-Trump agenda in my mind. I feel like he shouldn't be in these debates.
I've seen a lot of pundits say, like, you know, what we're looking for is the person who can beat Trump. So we want to see how you would fight Trump and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, my personal opinion, I would vote for a plate of hot dogs shit fresh out the microwave over Trump at this point. So I don't really need that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you need this like big plan for like, ooh, who has the technique, the secret art to take down Trump. He's a dumbass. And if we vote for him again over like a competent candidate, then I guess we deserve what we get. Because I don't know what secret art is going to save a candidate from his idiocy. I don't know what it is. So, I don't know. I'm not interested in hearing about him in the middle of these debates. I want you to guys clear this out and then focus up.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can move on to other topics after that.
All right, so I thank you for taking the 3-hour hit. I appreciate you. That's crazy. All right, so bit of news that came out today. Colt, the developers of the Colt 45, no, it's not just the malt liquor, people. It's actually a real gun. Billy D. Williams doesn't sell the guns; he just sells the malt liquor. Right. But they have decided that they're no longer making AR-15 rifles for consumers.
They have decided what?
They're no longer making AR-15 rifles for consumers.
Hell of a move.
Yeah. Mind you, they're gonna still keep making their pistols and handguns for the public. And of course, they have military contracts, but they were just like, yeah, it's already one. They actually came out and said, like, there's too many of these guns on the market as it is, and we don't need to be putting out any more, nor we don't see any necessity to do so. Which I thought was, you know, a cool thing to say. I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is admirable that they're doing this, because, I mean, shouldn't have been selling them in the first place. Sorry. It's just like, again.
I don't know what their reaction has been, but I feel like I can see a lot of people being pissed off. And I feel like those are the same people who would say businesses can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, exactly.
But this was not a government mandate that forced them to do
whatever. No, they made this decision themselves. We don't want to sell this gun. All right.
Cool. If you don't like it, I would refer you to your own words about, you know, capitalism and all that shit. Because these are the same people that are always like, if the people in the markets or whatever, you know, behave differently, the companies will react to that. This is an example of that. They don't like the fucking negative, so they're going to stop doing that. This is exactly the kind of thing you guys talk about all the time. No. Sorry.
Yeah, like, again, don't understand the need to have these guns available to people. I won't sit here and go on this whole gun rant, because my feelings, I think both of us have made these feelings before. Like, while we're not into guns, okay, if you're gonna do that, fine. Just give me better regulation and limit access to certain types of guns that really don't make sense to the market. This being one of them. Um, so, you know, it's cool, but it's like, yeah, yeah, okay. Everybody should be happy. To me, everybody should be happy. Sure, you can't get this particular gun, but gee, you mean I gotta kill somebody with a fucking, Colt revolver, which can probably stop a buffalo? Oh my, gee, I feel so like, you should feel so fucking limited that you can only just shoot one buffalo at a time, like with a whatever. Shut up.
Well, I could see somebody just wanting it for purely recreational, like targets.
But for what? What are you recreationally shooting like 60 bullets a second for?
Look, but for people who like that kind of shit, I can see them. I don't even.
Like, I'm just saying though, like,
range,
you're wasting all this money on ammo just so you could hear that sound. Come on, no.
But that's the shit that they like.
But you know, one reason why you shouldn't have that gun, because you're wasteful.
As a person who just spent a few grand on an art, I'm not gonna throw stones.
Okay, but your art's not gonna, unless you're not taking your art though. You're not taking your art and they're like, oh wow, I'm so glad I got this. Click, lighter, boom. I just wanted to get it, just to fucking use it up and abuse it and do dumb shit with it. No, I'm not gonna buy that argument like that. It's like, again, I personally, myself personally, I think if I were into guns, I would think the idea of owning something like a Magnum, like Dirty Harry, which is a hand cannon, is a lot more like exciting of a thought than a fucking like machine gun.
I can see.
Like, do you know how like big people's dicks probably feel when they like hold a fucking Magnum?
Probably not as big as when they're holding a machine gun.
I beg to differ. I guarantee you, because seriously, having talked to people who use guns, the most fun I've ever heard them say they've had with guns are guns like the Magnums, and oddly enough, but not oddly enough, shotguns. Because they feel powerful.
As somebody who's not interested in this shit, I can't talk much to what makes it attractive to them. So,
yeah,
you need some actual gun fans.
Yeah, I honestly think that you only want an AR-15 because you just want to kill a lot of people at once, or a lot of things at once. Because it's really, that's all it's for. It's like crowd control and suppression. And like, again, what normal person is going to be in that situation? Like, I'm sorry, but you're not going to have a horde of, like, unless you're going to have a horde of zombies rush your apartment. What the fuck are you even for?
I don't know. That might be.
It's ineffective for hunting because you shred up the fucking animals. So if you're hunting for food, you just made it like a non-edible. Try again with that shit. And like all the arguments that people could throw out for me for things like that, I think practically, as somebody who's even not into guns, like, yeah, you have more effective. Regular rifles are more effective than high capacity rifles. Single shot kill, boom, less mess.
I don't take those applications seriously anyway. That's the reason why I recreational use, because I don't take the argument that they're necessary for defense or for hunting or for any other use than feeling what it's like to fire it. Like
and I totally agree with you. But it's like, I'm sitting here as someone who's not a fan of guns, making a lot more logical arguments than they are making, and that bothers me. That like they are the ones who apparently can dictate like the law, because like, yo, again, I ain't trying to take your guns. I'm just saying, think this a little bit through. Do you really need that gun?
Well, Beto and this company are working to fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Bigger guns. finger machine gun. Sorry. I
Yeah.
don't know what this was. It's not how you would hold a gun. That was
Yeah, I really think that this is just the Call of Duty effect for real. Everybody's played Call of Duty and prayed and sprayed in video games, and now they want to pray and spray in real life like idiots. So whatever.
fun.
Like yeah, no, that's this. In fact, I'm going to even further poke at you. This shows that you're not a real gun expert anyway. Because like in video games, you only use the shit with high volume bullets because you can't really aim or shoot, and that's why you need that shit.
True.
Because you suck.
I do it.
Exactly. That's why we all use like automatic weapons in video games because we know that we can't shoot shit with a sniper rifle. Or
Go back to your other point. Like in games, and I was thinking about this when I was watching Strictly Gears. I always like the more revolver guns, like just pistols. And
yeah, did you?
But since I'm not a good enough shot, I always had to switch to my assault rifle.
Yeah, I know. No, everybody knows like with Destiny, my favorite weapon is the hand cannons. I love hand cannons, but I'm not as accurate as if I pull out a an automatic rifle. Because I could just I may not hit as hard, but I can mass enough bullets to take somebody out in a game. So yeah,
Damn shame.
I know. But I feel like that's just the mentality that they have. It makes no sense. Anyway, so I sent you the clip. Did you watch the clip about why billionaires are evil?
Yeah, I was listening to what you were talking about.
Okay. So what is your to clarify on podcast by Van Lathan, a young woman named Miko Grimes was asked a question about people making money, and she was making a point that people who get over a certain amount of money are inherently evil, or at least you turn evil because in order to get to that point, you have to step over people and do a lot of fucked up things. The more money you get to it. What is your thoughts on that?
First of all, perhaps a dumb question: who is Miko Grimes?
I don't know her. I'm not familiar.
Okay,
My black card is being pulled probably right now by not knowing every quote unquote woke black person in social media.
It's fine. I was just curious, what her background, where she, whatever. I guess maybe it's not.
Okay. This not really making a case for her. She's Brent Grimes' wife, which means nothing to you.
Nope.
Because Brent Grimes is a football player.
Ah, okay.
And not a particularly superly popular one, in my opinion. But
Well,
sure.
that guy can have on whatever guest on this podcast he wants.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that's what it is. She's on a reality TV show as one of the sports wives. She's on the show called Baller Wives. There it is. It all goes back to the dumbest foundation of creating multimedia stars. Fucking reality TV show. So she was on basketball. She was on Baller Wives as being the wife of an NFL player, or not a particularly huge NFL player, but okay. All right.
Fair enough. I won't hold that against her. I was just curious.
Yeah, she's famous for being catty on TV.
To the crux of her argument that you can only be that super rich if you're a bad person. I don't think that's true. Especially in the modern age where you can make so much money just on the internet selling random things. Yeah, we're in an age of ideas that can be transferred over the web. So, say I make some piece of music or something, and then people can download it a bunch for $1 a pop. That could result in a lot of money directly. Not $1 billion or anything, but I'm just saying, the way you make money now allows for individuals to make a lot more in certain cases, in ways they would not have been able to a few decades ago. So sure, when we look at people like Jeff Bezos and Amazon and how they treat their workers in the delivery, it's not great. I'm sure you see a lot of that. You see a lot of corruption at the top, but it's not necessarily true that just because you're super rich means you have some moral effectiveness. And even more to the point, like some of those super rich people may be fine, and maybe people under them that are bankrupting certain things. It's not just because you have money suddenly means that you directly did such horrific things. It
Yeah.
could be anybody in your organization. Like if you look at like a company like Google or something, has hundreds, like maybe over 100,000 employees, right? Like I'm sure not every single individual in that company is a good actor. Doesn't mean that Larry Page and Sergey Brin are inherently evil people. It is what it is.
Yeah, like I understand part of what she's saying that yeah, in some cases people have had to um you know, do some things to get to that point. And they brought up Jay-Z to the point of yeah, Jay-Z is a good example of how his climb to success is marred with a lot of like backstabbing and questionable things that he's done in life. So yeah,
I would
uh,
have brought up Oprah as a better counter than that guy did. Not that I think Oprah is insane either, but
yeah,
I think it would be one that would have been harder for her to argue against. But
yeah,
I think it feeds into what animates Bernie and on some level Elizabeth Warren so much is this need to demonize rich people as being inherently shitty because somehow them being rich is the cause of you being poor. And again, there can definitely be corruption. That's not unusual, but it, it's the wrong way to visualize how wealth works. It's certainly possible for somebody to accrue a massive amount of wealth. It doesn't mean that they're inherently taking away from it because wealth is not finite like that. Me growing my wealth over something does not strip everybody else of the opportunity to make that wealth. That's why, despite the growing population, it's still it's a complicated topic to touch on. I'm not the
yeah.
economic expert to explain it, but
And even then, she was making a point of like, unless you're like athlete who's making millions a year, it's like, well, hold on, that doesn't necessarily absolve you of or make you a more pure um, billionaire if you make your money because they invest and do a lot of things on the side too that could be looked at questionable. Again, first billionaire sports figure Michael Jordan is not a very nice person. He done a lot of things to people that he's loved. He's like done some questionable business deals, made some questionable decisions as far as like what he does with his money or how he chooses to spend it, stuff like that. So that's not pure. If you're trying to say that, then you should just go ahead and say that there's no one. Like, I get the fact that no one needs that money and that there has to be a level of drive, or there might be situations where you have to make a choice that may not be the best choice. I don't think that means that you're evil or that you're trying to inherently be evil. Sure, I think there are people who are, but it's a weird like way of doing things to me because it's just like, yo, yeah, I can't necessarily call people evil. It's funny too because this came up, and then they showed in Adam Ruins Everything where they were talking about this billionaire who was dying, and he was going to leave his money and do all these charitable things. He was going over his life about all the charitable things, and Adam was basically breaking down how even when you do charitable things, it's a big tax write off, and um, all of that, and you know, um, Yeah, there's no perfect solution to everything. I don't think that the intent is always to do wrong, but Adam of the Ruins is a good example of something where you can make an argument that everything has something bad to it. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you're purposely trying to do, or that that's inherently what you are because of it. Yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, I think the assumption that you have to step on a bunch of necks to become super rich, especially in the digital age, just is true. I was thinking about the creator of Flappy Bird. Like, I don't know how much money he made, but it's a very simplistic game that made a shit ton of money, probably. I assume. I don't see why that makes him evil. Unless you want to start talking about how addicted people got to that game, but I don't think that's a fair charge to make. Cause I certainly don't think it was his intention to get anybody addicted to anything. So I don't know. It's overly simplistic.
It's also easier to say shit like that when you don't have it. Because I've always said that, like, we all tend to have an issue with the rich until we become rich. um, yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier to say that we wouldn't do certain things and we won't change in certain ways if we got the money. But, like, I find that hard to believe because something's going to change. Shit. Something generally has to change. So.
I mean, I'm sure there's stuff in that circle of super rich people, that culture that is at that level that probably makes you, you know, a bit more likely to do that stuff like that because you're kind of trained to the same way politicians always kind of waffle and fuck around because they're just kind of trained to within that realm. But I don't know. It, I think a lot of people just have this cartoon figure in their head of like super rich people, like this dick, an old white asshole in a suit, just taking a bunch of money while all the migrants working under die of slave labor or something. That's why when we were talking about Warren and Sanders and how they go after the healthcare people, but you know, you were talking about not wanting to be controlled and when you just be giving the government a bunch of control. I think it's because for a lot of people, their idea of the man is a businessman, not a government man. Well, let me take that back. I think in the context of this conversation, it's easier for them to demonize rich people taking advantage of the healthcare system than to think of like politicians doing it. Because the rich people in the healthcare system are the ones getting rich directly. If you don't want to count like lobbyists and shit like that. So
Yeah.
I think who they choose to demonize just kind of depends on how they visualize certain issues. Because I'm sure, like, if we went with Bernie's plan or whatever, if we made healthcare completely government enterprise, I'm sure their idea of the man over like so would become the government.
Yeah.
And they would have a lot of the same problems. But because the government does not currently own it, it's kind of easy not to demonize them over it.
Yeah, because she started out with $100 million limit, and then she thought about it, was like, well, maybe that's too little because she probably thought it was like, my husband might be close. Because dude checked her, it was like, well, aren't you that close to making $100 million? You know, you and your husband, and then she like, okay, so let's just up the number, type thing. Because yeah, but let's use 100 million because in general, $100 million should let you have a comfortable lifetime for the rest of your life. Would you agree to that?
Sure.
Yeah, if you aren't overly lavish with your money, you invest well, and you just don't do stupid shit. Like, period. $100 million. If you were to get that, like around the age, because let me see, how old is she? Her husband's 36. So $100 million at 30. Have $100 million at 36. Wow, she's 44. She's 8 years older than him. Interesting. But
It
okay.
makes the point even further. But sure.
Yeah, but okay, 44, $100 million. I think you could live out the rest of your lifetime on that. Um, so let's say that's the mark of like, let's just put that as the mark of like the evil. So you're telling me that if I'm somebody who gets into sports or becomes an actor or actress, if I end up making that money, I inherently become evil, or that I did something in a way to, because and I think people really don't think about that. Like we're so caught up in the idea of the number and trying to associate it, and I think that's the problem. Like you have to be more specific. Are you talking about people who are in certain industries that takes advantage of people? Then I would say yes. That can be true probably in a lot of cases because there are some like take the case being a defense lawyer. You can be considered a very like unsavory person as a defense lawyer. You don't need $100 million to say that, because if you are the type of guy that get off people, like people used to say that about Johnny Cochran, fair assessment considering that he defended and got O.J. Simpson off. You know, things like that. I don't think he was worth that much, or even if he was, still, either way, some pretty cruel shit. Um, the prosecutor from the Central Park Five, I know she's not worth that much money. Are you saying that she's but she's evil? Like she's probably more evil than anybody who has $1 billion out there because of what she did. And so I don't know.
Trump's pretty evil, and he went bankrupt. So all right, that was a pity shot.
Yeah, I know, but no, I don't know. It's like no.
But it also kind of depends on what you mean by evil, because like in the network of decisions you have to make throughout your life, I'm sure some of them are going to have some negative consequences. Because you look at like Bill Gates, and he had like that malaria foundation, but I'm sure like something he's probably done might have been fucked up.
Oh yeah, he stole Windows from Apple. So
that was for the good of the nation. Fuck you.
No, but I'm just saying, like, okay, so we use Bill Gates though, and that he did some like fucked up shit. I'm sorry, but I have a feeling that these people from this show, Baller Wives, does some way more snakier shit.
Probably, but I just think it's not that simple. Like some of them will have done really good shit, and some of them, they will have done really good shit, and some things will have had some serious negative consequences. Jeff Bezos, for example, is bald, and that bothers me. So I was just looking up like a list of them. Yeah. I don't know like what Larry Page did that makes him an asshole, but he's worth $50 billion apparently. He's one of the founders of Google, for those of you guys who aren't aware. Larry Page and Sergey Brin.
Yeah, or it's like how everybody like talks about the evil of Disney, things like yeah, there's some questionable things that go with a lot of big companies, a lot of things like that. I don't think everybody makes that path or that journey.
I think at some level we might be abusing word evil.
Yeah, we do.
Like there's people out there that like rape kids and like murder women, do war and shit. Like being a business asshole is not inherently the same level all the time. Not that I'm saying what they do is okay either, but I think we should measure our use of words like evil. Like Black, he's evil.
Apparently, I'm sure I was called evil when I left work today.
You probably fucked somebody over and now they're crying.
No, I didn't. I just called out someone's lies, and yeah.
See, evil. Man, it doesn't help that like they all look like old white men.
Well, that's the problem too.
There's like a couple like Asian people on there, but like, and like one woman, but it's like stop putting all white men. They need some color on this list. They need maybe a cardiac somewhere on this list. You know what I'm saying? Cardiac 2020. Give me the money.
Want to talk about evil?
And some people just make money because consumers are stupid, like that Cash Me Outside girl. I'm sure she makes decent pennies because some people are dumb. Like,
Well, of course, because now she's making money off of rap, off that shit. Like, she became a fucking hip hop artist for being like an ignorant little child.
You could argue that she's evil on some level, but like, whose neck did she step on to get a bunch of other dumb assholes to give her money?
Her mom,
Nobody.
I guess. I don't know. No, actually, no. She just was like a horrible child. But at the end of the day,
Yeah, like,
y'all paid her. But that's the thing. A lot of times too, when you would have like make this argument, you have to think you're paying a lot of these people to be quote unquote evil. Jay-Z being a good example. People love his fucking music. Jay-Z couldn't make $1 billion without people being willing to endorse what he does for a living.
Right.
He didn't just make it just by like all this like, you know, behind the scenes like double dealing that you're saying that he's been doing. Y'all were going out there buying the records and buying the tickets to the tour. He didn't just fall into $1 million by fucking over his business partner Dame Dash and then boom, I'm a billionaire.
Yeah, they don't just walk on stairs made of necks or something. Like on some level,
Yeah.
carry them up to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we want to, let's be real. We can shit on Jeff Bezos, but we're all buying shit on fucking Amazon, right? So who the fuck?
I just got a box from them the other day.
We're all gonna sit here and be like, Jeff Bezos is evil while we're supporting this demonic enterprise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On some level, there's some fucking hypocrisy here. There must
The Disney thing. You ain't gonna tell me you ain't gonna go see Black Panther 2, people. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. All that shit about like billionaires are evil, but you gonna go see you gonna wear your dashiki, black lady, and go see Black Panther 2. You know? And your excuse is gonna be, I'm trying to help the black people make money so they can get more money and they can grow their wealth. Well, you're helping them grow their wealth. What if like fucking Chadwick Boseman, you know, likes to pay hookers to, you know, throw garbage on them? That's evil. But you helping them make that money to throw garbage on hookers.
And if you want to say we're all evil, fine. But like, they're not getting to these positions by themselves.
Yeah.
It's not like a lot of this shit is like secrets. Like, oh, I didn't know that they fucking stabbed some guy. But all the things that you consider them evil for, you know they do. And you still, like, I know that Amazon workers don't get treated very nicely. And I'm an asshole because I still buy that shit because
it's cheap, it's convenient.
Yeah. But a lot, like, I'm saying, like, that's not secret knowledge. Like, many of us know that this is a problem. So if we're gonna call him evil, we should call a good portion of the American consumers evil on some level.
Yeah.
But if you guys make me rich, I'll probably be good. Yeah, I think it's a good topic. I think a lot of people's natural instinct is just kind of demonize the rich for being rich. They're not assholes because they're rich. They're assholes for some of their actions. Some of which may have helped them to be rich, but they're separate issues.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just an interesting thing. Like, but again, as I was saying with the whole thing about money and politics, it's easy for us to simplify things into a way which we don't understand the larger picture. And I'm not excusing any of this behavior. I think it's all fucked up. But at the same time, I think the blanket statement, you got to be careful with making that sometimes. if you're not going to include yourself, especially if you are a celebrity saying this.
Sure.
Because I just like when I was looking her up, I saw she had a video where I didn't look at it, but the title was her and her husband don't want people to know they're rich.
I mean, I would assume if she's on TV, they're making some kind of money.
Yeah.
But
And that's the thing. Like, you don't want people to know you're rich, but you're um, media celebrity on television. And a lot of people's assumption is, well, you're on TV, you're making money, and you're rich. Nobody thinks anybody on TV, even if they are actually poor, nobody thinks people who are on TV or in movies are actually poor.
random wrestling aside, this is why when Shane McMahon in that recent storyline fined Kevin Owens like $100,000, nobody gave a shit because we all assume that he's rich. So like, for us, they're like, all right, $100,000, what is $20 to you? Like, use shit, like, which may not be accurate, but I think it feeds into your point that like it didn't hold weight with any of us because we assume that he makes a lot more money than that.
Yeah. Exactly. What else? So, federal judge halted a law forcing Trump to release tax returns for the ballot. So that's going back and forth again. I'm sure the next circuit court in California is going to reverse his reversal. This tax thing, like, I get the importance of it, but I'm getting so sick of that shit.
Yeah, I'm getting sick of this battle. Plus, it just makes me feel like the government is on some level. Like,
Yeah.
you can't deal. He is coming to the point where his term is going to be over, and you still can't fucking deal with this. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Damn shame. Like, he's defied all rules, regulations, traditions.
I didn't catch the hearing or whatever with Corey Lewandowski, but I caught some clips of it.
I'm sure you caught the most important one where he said that he doesn't feel like he needs to be honest with the media. And then he gets a job with CNN.
Because they're liars. What? But I talk about that to talk about this lack of accountability with Trump, because it just feels like they're able to get away. Like, he was sitting in front of Congress and he was just like talking shit. I was looking at this motherfucker like, can we just put him in prison? Like, hold this guy in contempt of Congress, please? Like, Congress, can you like put your dick out and put it on the table, flex your muscle? Do you have any power that this dude can come in here and just talk to you however he wants? Not that you should be put in prison for being a dick, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's sitting there not taking any of these questions seriously, probably lying left and right, not giving a shit because he doesn't believe that there's going to be any consequences, and he's probably right. So like,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm seeing this more and more with these hearings.
Like I said, to that point,
take it serious.
he got on TV, said that, and then the next day he was introduced as CNN's new like correspondent or some shit. And it's like, wait, he really just shat in like the media's mouth, and he got a job with them, which makes you, huh?
His line that he didn't feel the need to be truthful with the media because they lie. This idea is disgusting. Like,
Yeah.
more and more like, oh yeah, the fake news mainstream media, they're liars anyway. Why do we have truth? Bruh. So, even if you believe that they're liars, it's okay for you to.
Yeah, it's like, what's your integrity? So you're saying you have no integrity either? Okay, cool.
Like, everybody lacks integrity. I like it too. Like, brother, that's fucking pathetic. And anybody who thinks that argument makes sense is just, I'm sorry. I don't normally take such a harsh stance on that kind of thing, but it is. It's completely intellectually pathetic.
Yeah, it is. No, 100%.
All that to say, I feel like I'm living with a government that cannot even slap you motherfuckers' wrist, and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Very, very sad. All right, here's one that made Republicans happy. Democratic donor Ed Buck was arrested for trafficking drugs in his home. Apparently, um, they felt he was running a drug den where he was bringing in like homeless people, and providing drugs for them to kind of, I guess, for sexual favors or something. It's a very weird story. He's had a couple of people OD over time, but never got in trouble. But he's finally been arrested for possession of drugs, drug trafficking. A lot of people are like, shocked and stuff like that. And of course, the Republicans are kind of jumping on it because he donated money to Ted Lieu, who, for a lot of people know, is one of the more prominent people in the House of Representatives who leads the charge in these investigations against Trump. So that gave them bulletin board material.
I don't see why it matters. What does Ted Lieu have to do with this fucking problem? Like,
yeah, to the point. If he wants to send money to him to campaign, like, okay. So Ted Lieu should vet who sends the money better. Cool. That doesn't mean Ted Lieu was like, hey, thank you, and for sending that money, I'm going to go to your crack house and smoke with you, or anything like that. So,
how much does he have to vet it though? Like, I don't know, maybe it's just a principle thing. Because I've seen this kind of issue before where they'll be like, hey, that person you got money from that one time turns out to be a dick. You should give the money back. I'm like, what? Fuck them. Keeping their money. Like, it's not like, unless Ted Lieu was like giving him something directly in return money.
Right.
Who cares? You're gonna reward that asshole by giving him his money back?
And like I said, it's a principle thing.
Yes, I wouldn't be offended. you just help. Use the money for something good or whatever. If you're that pissed off, throw it toward charity or something. I don't fucking know. Like, what's the what? How does the person who's an asshole get hurt by you giving them the? Fuck them. You lose your money. Go to hell. Go to jail. This weird purity thing, like, yeah, you can't take money from an asshole. You should take money from assholes. They should be fined left and right. Take more money from assholes.
I mean, legally speaking, we should take money from assholes.
Unless somebody shows me that Ted Lieu did something pretty wrong here, I think this weird purity shit where you can't even have gotten a fucking cent from somebody who's an asshole.
Yeah.
That's cardiac.
Because this asshole wants your money.
Hey, I'll take it from anybody. You're not gonna get anything back, but I'll take it.
I'll take your money, but I'm not giving you shit in return.
Because to me, that's the real moral issue, is that, like, if you take their money and you give them, then you have a weird relationship. But if they're just throwing money at you, like, who cares? They're not benefiting in any way. Unless you taking their money is seen as some kind of an endorsement, I feel like it should be.
Yeah. Definitely.
Otherwise, I want all you fuckers on the internet with Patreons to vet every person who donates to you. I want background checks on every motherfucker who sends in a dime.
Yeah, I know. All y'all people putting out your cash apps and shit like that for people to send you money, and taking, like you said, the Patreon payments, PayPal stuff, donations from like Twitch and all that shit. Again, it's a levels thing. Like, it's a levels thing. Like, yeah, no, I'm comfortable with like that. Like, again, at the time they probably met, he might not have known this shit. I think that's another thing, is that we always assume that everybody knows everything about everybody. Like, and hey, Republicans, this one's for you. Going back to Jeffrey Epstein, like, some people who took money from him may not have knew who he was. Like, I'm not going to say Trump didn't know who he was, because Trump partied with him. I'm sure the people who went to parties, or went to private parties of his, I should say, knows who he is. But if I met him at a gala and he was like, "I really like you. I want to help your campaign, and I'll give you this." And I say thank you. It's like, unless I got somebody who has his whole history on my team, and they didn't say anything to me, I just thought he just wanted to help me win an election. I didn't know he was fucking doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure.
So, yeah. Man, it's just one of those things. What can I say? Now, last topic. Did you enjoy the NXT live show last night?
Very much. Can't wait for AEW to hop on.
Did you think Morrow sucked? Because people were trying to take Morrow down on the internet last night.
I think what?
Take Morrow Ronaldo down on the internet last night. Saying how he sucked and he didn't sound good and they didn't like him.
I didn't hear much of him because we were talking during it, so I had the volume down. But if he was being his regular self,
he was. Like, for what I heard, he was doing fine. What was the comment that I retweeted that he said? Let me see if I can find that. I think people just have a hate because people really, really like Morrow. So it's like, it's one of those, oh, you're popular, I gotta fucking not like you because I can't like the thing that's popular type of situation.
The worst I can say is that sometimes his pop culture references are a bit too convoluted. Or it's like a really long trail of references for God, stop. Keep it simple, quick little burst.
No, I like that he's convoluted because it's like he makes you think. Like, yo, like more kicks than a baby in a womb. He said that and somebody laughed, and then he responded. He was like, Nas. I was like, oh shit, that is a Nas reference. So the song Halftime by Nas, like, he's very, very in tune to a lot of things, but nobody would catch that. But he catches stuff like that. He says it.
I really mean the ones that like last a long time. Because like that's like a quick single line. Like I've seen him do things where he's talking too long to deliver a line. But it's rare. So
I love when he does that because he's like just building up the moment. Because he's hyping the moment before he drops that shit. Like,
and I've heard people say that he yells too much for everything with like a high energy level. That is his fault. He does not do that. But I think they notice him when he's yelling. But if you just like watch like a regular match, he has a regular tone. He doesn't fucking yell.
You know why? Because they're used to fucking like Michael Cole and them with their bland shit. Like, aren't you supposed to yell when something happens again? And this is how people you could tell like there's been this shift in the way that wrestling is viewed. Well, I guess fans too. Like, when you're at a sporting event in a competition, when a big moment happens, you yell. Go look at Morrow. He stays consistent. Because if you ever look at him do boxing matches, you ever look at him do MMA matches, he's the same exact way. Then go watch somebody else in doing a boxing match or MMA. You'll see, like, I forget the name of the guy from HBO who used to do the fight. When people start throwing a lot of blows, he would get up and he would start yelling. People got into it. You got into the moment. It drew into the emotion of the moment. Yeah, when fucking like, you know, Dream fucking got hit with the knees and shit by Roderick Strong. Hell yeah, you supposed to yell. Like, oh shit, he fucked him up. We yelled. That's what you do. He does nothing that he's not supposed to do. He's really, really good at capturing the moment.
I think some of it is just conditioning because in NXT, a lot of the matches are actually pretty good and have high stakes and have a story behind them to get excited about. But on the main roster, and I'm not trying to overly shit on the main roster here, but I think it's part of why people feel this way toward him. Because on the main roster, there's nothing to really yell about most of the time. Whereas in NXT, especially on a takeover, every match is like pretty solid, and there's a fair amount of those moments, especially toward the end. So I think he's going to yell more often because there's just more. Not because he's doing it when he shouldn't. I think he reserves himself. I think he is quiet more than people notice, and I think they notice him yell when he does.
I think that's when you get the moments that you said you don't like when he talks a lot because he's talking through the quiet moments and he's filling in backstory, and that's why I don't mind it because he's actually really filling in backstory while he's building towards that line. So it's just like he's like, you know, again, you don't watch a lot of sports, and maybe that's why it doesn't like bother me as much. Because if you go back into some of the like better sports casters, like the Howard Cosell's and things like that, you'll notice that he kind of does the things that they did. You know, Howard Cosell was very very chatty because he was being very very you know, informative about what was going on. So you never like felt like you were lost at what was going on, or you didn't understand why people felt certain ways about certain people. Like he made sure that you understood the gravity of the, you know, of things. Like, yeah, these are serious stakes. He took it serious, and I think that's why I'm used to it because it's a really big trope with a lot of really good sports, like a lot of the legendary sportscasters. Um,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it doesn't happen very often, so it doesn't tend to bug me. Because I'm just thinking of like the few things you might be able to criticize. Like even then, it's like does it really happen that often? Like maybe once every few months. Let's be honest. Like it's to the level where it's like a human level mistake. So it's like I would just stop complaining about that.
yeah, like I saw somebody hit me up and was like, he does nothing special, and he actually got shit from people I didn't know who were responding back like, what the fuck you mean? He does nothing special, like. But it's, yeah, I think it's just that people don't really understand or know.
I might rewatch it again on the WWE Network if it's there in full and see if he was off somehow, but I doubt it.
He's
He seemed
fine. He's
from what I
Morrow.
could hear.
He's Morrow. Morrow's awesome.
Yeah, but I think it was solid. I think it's funny that when we talk about WWE versus AEW, NXT versus AEW, which to me just admits that everybody knows that Raw and SmackDown, quality wise, is not on either one of their levels. So, I mean, there's a reason you felt the need to bring NXT to TV. Let's be fucking honest here.
Yeah.
There's a reason that both Fox and USA wanted NXT because it's the good one.
Yeah.
And that should deliver a huge message to you fucking people. But
I totally agree. So, yeah. Only criticism I have is I hated the fact that they had to switch networks. Other than that, I was fine. Like, Roderick Strong is now a champion, finally. Fucking Undisputed Era, like, is the new Four Horsemen of wrestling. Which is awesome, because all of them are awesome. Like,
I wonder how many people who don't already watch NXT watched last night. I don't know if you can see numbers on that kind of thing, but I'd be.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some numbers up. It'll probably be up, if not today, tomorrow.
Like Roddy fulfilling that legacy was a big thing, but I was reminded that it's only a big thing if you've actually been paying attention to the story. Otherwise, if you were new, you saw those come out, you'd be like, "Who the fuck are they? What is this?" I guess they're champions too, which is not a bad thing. I think it's good that NXT rewards a long time finishing storylines and like moving them along. I just think it's going to take time for like new viewers to catch up, and they didn't really have any. I guess there was like a little video package, but I don't feel like it's a story from like the era's viewpoint overall. It was more like a video package for that match.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call it like a flaw per se. I think they're just, it's kind of like how AEW has to do certain things to live up to TV. There's just certain things you just kind of have to do. You have to like grow into your position.
Yeah. But to the point, like, what's his name had made that point about how, like, we're trying to become, the undisputed gold. It has been a theme So seeing him win when they brought it up um, about them being like having all the belts, it was like, yeah, they've been saying they're going to do that and they're going to run shit.
Yeah, like it is definitely the fruition of like a long term storyline. So it's not like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing that last visual. I'm like, for me as a fan of NXT who's been watching this whole time, that image is like everything.
Yeah.
It was like a random person who picked this up. I'm curious like what they would have felt from their perspective.
Right. But at the same time, I appreciate that they didn't decide to do a reset and try to like quote unquote introduce people to NXT. It's like hopefully people who are going to watch it will help. And again, that's where Marl's ability to back build with his storytelling helps. You know, because he kind of like instead of doing like we say like I was saying how Raw does last night by having somebody come out in the mic and be like, last week this happened to me, take a look, you know. That type of shit, or constantly doing the like before show video packages that go over just like certain big moments. You don't need to do that because you'll get your information as you watch wrestling, which is the point of wrestling.
Yeah. Sure. Now they continue storylines, which is a wonderful thing. There's progress. You've got Candice going against Shayna. Feels long overdue for Candice. Hopefully she actually takes out Shayna, and apparently it's going to be that same night that AEW starts up. So good timing, I guess, for this is the war they're brewing. You got to see some younger people, more developmental, which there's one thing I'm glad of, because I was a little scared that when they went to TV that they were only going to focus on people who came in from the indies and have been doing it 10 years already.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're still sticking with people who are actually learning it. Because, like, Bianca Belair is one of those people who's more homegrown and didn't come in from the indies. So is Velveteen Dream, for that matter. Like,
she had, I think they both had, like, smaller, like, introductory things. But, yeah, they weren't, like, huge indie stars that came in and made their name before they hit the scene. I don't know
what Dialy's history is like, but I assume she's similar. She doesn't seem that old, so...
Yeah.
There are definitely people of value that are more actually grown in that system, and I'm glad they get some level of attention. Because it's easy to get lost with the amount of talent that comes in through there.
Yo, like next week, if you want to watch a match, watch fucking Keith Lee and what's his name?
Dominic.
I can't ever say his last name. Dominic.
I think it's Dijakovic.
Dijakovic. Yeah. But yeah, watch that shit because goddamn, both of them are too like. Dominic's too big in the like tall and muscular area. Keith Lee's just too fucking big, period, to be doing the shit that he be doing. But he be doing that shit. They both be doing that shit to each other, and that shit is ridiculous.
Did you catch the last match they had?
Yeah, because they showed the highlights from it. And I was like, I remember that shit. I was like, that's fucking dumb.
Dominic is like 20 feet tall.
Yeah, exactly.
Over the top rope.
Right.
To the point where like he's so tall, he used to still hit the ropes, and he still did it. I'm like, you don't need to do this, guy. But yeah, they're both big. They're both super athletic. They're both strong as shit. Like Keith Lee caught Dijakovic off the top rope into like the power zone position,
right?
And then picked him back up and power bombed him again. Like they're both strong as shit. They're freaks. They're freaks.
Yeah. And then if anything, you just want to see Keith Lee for his charisma. Like, yo, that dude has charisma out of his ass.
You got to see Imperium invade NXT.
Oh man, just wait until they need to put Walter on there at some point, so you can just see somebody's chest get caved in.
I mean, it looks like we're heading toward that match with Kushida. So I just looked at him and I'm like, bro, you look like just the right killed by a Walter shot.
God damn it, yeah. That picture that you sent me of Tyler Bate when they showed like how his just like chest just caved in, brother. Oh man.
For those of you, well, first of all, get to the WWE network, because despite all the shit I talk about the main roster, NXT and NXT UK are doing, and so are the takeover shows they do. For those of you who are smart enough to go and get it or have it, go to the last Takeover UK, Takeover Garden. And one of the improvements that they've made to the site that I like is that when you're like watching these shows, at the bottom you can like jump to different matches and like different segments of the show. So they actually like chop it up and you can just click on them. Click right to Tyler Bate versus. I think it's the best match of the year. I can't think of a match I like. It's fucking crazy. It's like 45 minutes. It's fucking amazing. All y'all go watch that match.
Yeah, nah. Shit is dope. Shit is dope. Alright, housekeeping. Make sure to follow the channel if you haven't. Thank you guys again for watching and listening. Make sure to check out the Patreon page, all of our social media links and things like that. Check out my other channel on YouTube, The Black Vegas, for some stuff. I actually have been posting some blogs, so check those out. And I think that's it. Oh, what are we reading this week?
I don't know if I already suggested it, but House of X and Powers of X.
That's fucking bullshit.
X-Men reboot under Jonathan Hickman.
Fucking gold balls.
This guy is great. Gold balls.
Some dumb shit.
For those
Gold ball. By the way, we just found out that gold balls is probably the biggest mass murder in Marvel history, and didn't even know it.
No.
Yes. Yes.
No.
Yes.
They weren't fertilized. I'll just say that. That doesn't count. But yeah, Jonathan Hickman is a really good writer. A lot of comic book fans like him. As somebody who grew up like loving the X-Men cartoons, I was very disappointed when I started actually reading comics. I was very disappointed by the fact that I hated reading X-Men. Like, it just bugged me, the fact that I could never get into these stories. To me, they were just badly written. No offense to the writers. Sure, you do your job, try your best, whatever. Fuck those stories. I'm actually really engaged in House of X and Powers of X. And one good, interesting thing is that Hickman brought back his character and actually made him kind of useful. A character named Goldball, who can shoot golden balls from his chest. To me, it was mostly a comedic thing when he was first introduced, but god damn it if Hickman didn't find a useful use.
He's, as the article said, he has made him one of the most important characters in the Marvel Universe. That's so fucking bizarre.
Here's why that killed me and why I sent it to you. When I woke up that morning, first thing I had to do, Batman, definitely. And I saw that House of X or Powers of X, whichever it was there. But I was holding off till I saw that article. I'm like, nope, I gotta see what this means, what they possibly mean by this. First few pages they established, I'm like, oh my god, Hickman made gold balls important. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's all we're gonna say. If you're into comic books reading, I suggest you go read it just so you can be like me and be like, fuck off.
And read them both, definitely. House of X and Power. Two different lines, but they're interconnected. Like, theoretically, you could just kind of read one, but I feel like you're going to get the full thing if you read them in tandem.
Also find out why Professor X is just the ultimate dick at the end of the day.
I think it's Professor X as he really is. He has a god complex, and I'm glad that it's being represented. Because I think back to those like movies Fox did, and I'm like, Professor X isn't just like a nice old man. Like, he's an asshole. He's manipulative, and it's nice to see it actually play out.
Yeah.
If you read that shit, people.
All right. So again, thank you guys. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time on The Reason Reborn. Peace.